Hello, everybody. We're back again today. Look at 1983 in the movies. I'm here with Brian, Massey's Main Entertainment, and Doc, continuing our series of top 10 movies. We started in 1980. We're up to 83, obviously. We have a tandem video on Brian's channel, Perfect Album, where we take 12 songs from the same year, release them on the same day, and the description's below and the link. So check that out. It's already filmed. And after you watch my video, go back and watch Brian's or watch his and come over to see me. Either way, whatever works best for you. We're taking them one at a time from 80. Well, actually, we started the music in 65, going all the way to 1999. The movies from 80 to 99. So follow the series, and I'm sure you'll be happy you did. I love reminiscing about this kind of stuff. It's like a little time capsule. Go back. Some films don't hold up as well. Others, of course, you remember how great they are. So, guys, we're 1983, and a little tease at the end. We're going to do a little, for those who want to play along, we've put our predictions in a sealed envelope of what the other two guys are going to pick in their top 10, and we'll reveal that in a little separate video, which will be attached in the description below. If you want to check that out. And we go back and say, oh man, I thought you'd have this and you didn't, and I knew you'd have that and you did. So whatever, it makes for interesting banter between us, and it'll be a short video, so we won't hold too much of your time. Anyway, Brian, Doc, welcome to the show. Great to be here. 83, another interesting year, diverse, a lot of stuff across the board as far as dramas and ensemble movies, comedies, sci-fi. We have it all in 83. And of course, we'll pick a worst movie too, just to lighten things up near the end. So the order today is Doc, Brian, myself, 10 through 1. Let's jump in so we can burn through this. The anticipation is killing me to see what you guys have on your list.
Oh, I'm sure it is, Rich.
So Doc, take her away, man. What do you got? Number 10.
Take her away. You're right about it. I'll say there's a whole bunch of different things, right? Every kind of genre is kind of covered here in 83 pretty good, I think. Some I find a lot heavier, and this is my 10. This is the way I'm going to put it here. This is my 10. So, if there are movies not going to make my list that are really good movies and are probably better than some on my list of 10, yeah, there probably is. But these are the ones I'm going to watch first. So
right. That's what it's all about.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with a very stupid comedy, man. I'm telling you that right now. So I got Easy Money starting at number 10, man, with Rodney Dangerfield and Joe Pesci, man. What a freaking hilarious flick. He's a photographer, and it's just, if you like Rodney Dangerfield, you'll like the movie. I'll say that. If you don't like him, you're not going to like the flick. So there's no other way around it. I do like Rodney in this time, Caddyshack, this kind of stuff. It's very humorous, and I think it's a pretty good classic little 80s comedy movie, to be honest with you, man. So I'm starting number 10 with that.
Very cool.
I'm going to follow it up with another comedy, man. It's one that's been with the whole time, man. Vacation, I think, is still a classic, and it'll make my top 10 in 83. So I think Hughes wrote this, right? Is this John Hughes? This could be a John Hughes movie, I think. I don't know if it is. I think it is.
I don't know about it, but it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is, actually. I'm trying to remember, but there's some classics. I'm pretty sure it is, actually. Some pretty classic scenes in this flick, and her in the pool, or Candy at the park, or sorry folks, park at French, moves out French, and I told you the park was closed, and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of lines in this flick. So Chevy's Chevy, and Chevy's early 80s again. 80s Chevy is kind of hitting on all cylinders here too for some comedy movies, and cuts the grade for me in the top 10, man. So number 8 for me is actually, I'm going back to Harry Callahan, man. I love Sudden Impact, so that makes my grade. It's nice to see Callahan come back, and he comes back with a really good flick, man. I think it's Paul Drake, the everlasting bad guy in every bad movie. In every movie, he's the bad guy. So, but another great, and he's got his girlfriend in this one. This is maybe towards the beginning and the end of their relationship and stuff like that too. But or maybe Deadpool is, I don't know. But Good little storyline. Callahan being Callahan. I just love him as a cop, man. Liked him since the very first one, Harry Callahan. So friggin' what am I going to do there? Sudden Impact's making my list.
Okay.
Number 7. I'm going with Sean Penn and Bad Boys, man. The original Bad Boys, this is the juvenile detention center. I think Clancy Brown's in this as well.
Yes.
Just a drug deal gone wrong, and he ends up serving time. And he's got to deal with what's going on the outside with his girlfriend. He's got to deal with all the stuff he's going to have to deal with to defend himself on the inside, gangs and all these other things. Sean Penn's a great actor, man, and you can see where he's going. From Spicoli to this. This is a big jump, and it's a different. He's showing he's very diverse with this. I tell you that. So, Bad Boys is a little bit of an underrated gem, I think, from '83. If you want the truth, so I love the flick. Number 6. Just my ranking, man, but I got the Big Chill. So some might have it higher, some might have it lower, whatever the case. Still a classic movie from '83. Great reminiscing, coming of age kind of story in one sense of high school students getting back together after one of their friends commits suicide and stuff like that. And man, what a great soundtrack on this flick too. And got a great cast, man. Joe Beth Williams, William Hurt, the cast, Tom Berenger, Kevin Kline's fantastic in this movie, man. So he might be my favorite part in the movie, to be honest with you. But I'm a big fan of his too. But The Big Chill is a classic movie from this era and this time and this year. But my number 5 goes more to my type of coming of age movie, especially at this time, and that's The Outsiders for me. So. It's a great, especially at my age at this time, right? So this is '83, so I'm 14. Brian, we're 14 here now. We're turning 14. The Outsiders is almost in a sweet spot for us in one sense. It's the gangs, the rival gangs, the fighting, just a great cast too. And it's Ralph Macchio, C. Thomas Howell, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Matt Dillon. That's, there's a couple that came out this year that fall under this umbrella, a type of movie and stuff like this. This is just the one that stuck with me, man. The Outsiders is another one of those kind of classic '83 movies I could probably still watch today and still be pretty happy watching it, to be honest with you. Number 4. Now, this is what I think was William Hurt's best role of the year. I got Gorky Park, man. This movie is, I love this movie. I don't know what to tell you, man. I've seen this movie 20 times. I think it's fantastic. I think it's Lee Marvin's an ass, and William Hurt's fantastic. It's in the whole movie. It's a good little spy crime thriller. People get killed at Gorky Park, and you got to find out what's going on. And he's trying to solve the case as a cop, and gets pulled into different things. It's got a couple of really good twists and turns in this flick, and I've always loved Gorky Park, man. It's making my top 10 of '83 for sure. Number 3 for me is one of my favorite adaptions, let's say, right up there for me, man, of a Stephen King. So I got The Dead Zone, man. I can't get around it. Love this flick. Always loved it. Christopher Walken's fantastic in this. The stories that cut in and out with Martin Sheen and Tom Skerritt is the cop, and it's freaky Stephen King on film is what it is. Mm-hmm. Not horrorish, but freakyish, and sometimes gory, and sometimes disturbing. So Dead Zone to me, still a classic. Still love the flick, man. It's awesome. Number 2, the end of the first trilogy for me, man. So I got Return of the Jedi, man. Yep. Right in my sweet spot, man. What's happening with Vader and Luke and Leia and everything else. I'm thinking this is the end of the franchise at that time, that's for sure. Star Wars, Empire, they're a tier above this movie. This is still a great flick, especially for this time still, and it has a lot of closure to it in some senses. As it turns out, it doesn't later on, but you didn't know at the time, especially from the time on, and it still holds up pretty good. He walks aside. There's some really good action scenes in this movie and everything else, and Return is still close to the heart to me in some senses too, man. So it's gonna be my number 2. Go right to my worst, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Man. 3D, man. Holy cow. Jaws 3D is the worst movie of the friggin' year, man, to me. Lou Gossett Jr. just won an Oscar the year before, for freaking An Officer and a Gentleman, and he comes out with his next movie. This is it. God. Get a new agent, buddy. Holy cow. I don't know what to say about the movie. It is so bad, man. It's and there's lots of cheese in 83, man. You could have had, Amityville Horror 3 came out in 3D or something like that too. There's a lot of crap that came out, man. Lots to pick from. Jaws 3D. Jaws 2 was hanging on for its dear life to make a half decent sequel to anything, and it was pretty crappy. Jaws 3D, man, a complete nosedive. To me, the worst movie of 83 that I saw. So I'm picking that as my worst. Told you guys didn't see my number 1, man. My number 1's Scarface, man.
Yep.
Love it. Love Pacino. Love everything about this movie. This is right in my wheelhouse. Obviously, I have a few omissions that I don't have in my top 10. Not to say they're not good movies. They're just not making my personal top 10, man. Not that I don't think they're good. I'd put on Scarface before anything else that's mentioned on this list anytime, I think. Scarface is a classic. Oliver Stone, it's a great movie, man. Pacino, man, I don't know what to tell you. It's a little longer. It's fantastic. I love Scarface, man. Number 1.
Very good. It'd be interesting when we get to our predictions to see how we line up. But
I think there was a fad of 3D movies coming out in 83 too.
I think so.
I remember there was a whole lot of
Amityville,
Amityville 3D, Piranha 3. I mean, it was just ridiculous amount of that, and
maybe Friday the 13th 3D or something. I don't know.
And you're absolutely right. If I can remember right, I think Lou Gossett did this movie, and then he did Firewalker with like Chuck Norris or something like that. I'm like, that's right on the heels of winning an Oscar, and I'm thinking, man, I said, when the world is your oyster, and you just basically drop an egg,
It's that Oscar plague, eh? It's that Oscar plague.
Yeah.
Win the Oscar, lose your career.
Wow.
Yeah. So
there you go, boys.
I don't know what to say other than gotta wait for our prediction segment.
Yeah. Kind of interested.
it'll be fun.
All right, Brian, jump in.
All right. So what do I got? I've got at number 10, I've got kind of a favorite of mine from back when. A short story by Ray Bradbury called Something Wicked This Way Comes. Has Jason Robards in it. Jonathan Pryce plays the villain. Pam Grier stars as the Dust Witch, who is a character also in the movie, which is kind of surprising when I went back and looked at it again. But yeah, I was like, yeah, okay. Just didn't know who she was when I was 14 years old. So really great premise. I mean, it's a carnival that comes to town, and basically they get these people they can wish for things that they want, but it comes at a cost to them personally, or in other ways. And so things are not always what they seem. I think if you think about it, I think Stephen King's Needful Things kind of played off of this a little bit as well. But I really like this one here. Robards does a great job in this film. So number 9 for me, I've got The Outsiders, doc. So I agree with you 100%. Really kind of that coming of age type of movie that I think our generation can kind of jump on board with. Just an absolute massive cast when you think about it. Like you said, yeah, Emilio Estevez and Patrick Swayze and Ralph Macchio, C. Thomas Howell. It was just loaded with that talent of the age and everything. And and we got to do it. We got to do it for Johnny, I mean,
For Johnny.
thing, and it's just kind of a crazy thing, but it's a good movie, stands the test of time. I wouldn't mind watching it if it was on, any time that it was. So number 8 for me, I've got National Lampoon's Vacation. Just one of those movies where, you're going to watch it if it's on. Chevy Chase kind of at the highlight of his career here. John Candy is absolutely great in it. Randy Quaid is before he went totally nut job, Randy Quaid was great in this movie. And the whole weird relationship that he has with his daughters is absolutely positively disturbing. But it seems to work anyway. It gives you a few laughs here and there. So number 7 for me, this one kind of like dropped down again. For me, it would have been higher probably if you'd asked me 20 years ago. I got Terms of Endearment here. Just really kind of hold too much of a test of time for me right now anyway. Maybe if it changed a little bit. Solid cast. I mean, it's got Nicholson, it's got Lithgow, and Shirley MacLaine. I mean, it's a great cast, and it's a really sad story, mixed in with some levity and things like that about an overbearing mother who ends up, ultimately having to take on her grandchildren because her daughter dies. And so it's kind of a depressor in that regards, but it's kind of slipped for me in the last few years, and but still made my top 10. Number 6 for me, The Right Stuff. It's a lengthy movie, didn't really do well at the box office, but it's a movie that if somebody hasn't seen it and was curious at all about the space race, might be worth a watch for them, as especially from a historical perspective. Really good cast in it. I really enjoyed Ed Harrison here quite a bit, and Scott Glenn is the other one I believe was in it. Did a fantastic job. I mean, just a great all-star cast. I just think that it was when you try to release in a summer and it's a 3-hour movie, it's probably not going to do as well as you might think at the box office, but it's worth the watch at least once in a person's lifetime. I would always recommend this movie to them. Number 5, I've got the modern day. It's not so modern day now, but at the time it had been a modern day retelling of The Prince and the Pauper. So really what you've got is you got Trading Places, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, in which they basically the two rich guys sabotage the rich guy into falling into squalor while they bring up someone who was from squalor and rise him up to see whether or not he can adapt to his environment and be successful. And then ultimately they turn the tables. Once they find out that was the case, they ultimately conspire and turn the tables on the rich guys to kind of screw them over in the end. Great. It's great. Eddie Murphy is, at the top of his game here. And that's good because in 1984, he's going to lay a big egg for a couple of his movies. So we'll get into those when we get to 1984, but did a good job here. Number 4 for me was one it's a movie I had to rewatch because I hadn't seen it since that time. And I think it rose up on my rankings because of that. And that's Tender Mercies with Robert Duvall. Really heart-pulling, heartstrings kind of pulling movie. Very sad, but poignant. He's a country singer who's basically down and out. He's getting out of the business. He befriends a lady who runs a hotel, ultimately marries her, and he's helping to raise her son. And he finally manages to cross paths with his old ex, who actually he had a daughter with. And then not to give away too much, but then there's a tragedy within that family itself. And it's kind of sad to think that once a person starts pulling their life together, then something tragic like that happens. And it's about trying to overcome that and how other elements in your life, other people in your life, and even religion to some extent, was able to help him overcome that. I don't think I've ever listened to the song On the Wings of a Dove anymore after watching that movie again. It's very, very, very sad.
Yep.
Number 3, I've got The Dead Zone. I think one of the best adaptations, for a Stephen King novel. David Cronenberg is the director. Christopher Walken does a really great job in this, and Martin Sheen is the politician who he sees in his future that he's going to do terrible things to the world, basically, start a nuclear war. And he's left with the dilemma about whether or not he should, since he has the foresight and the ability, whether he should kill this man to stop those horrible things from happening. So good movie. I think it was well directed, and definitely Walken at some of his best stuff. Number Oh, number two. Yep, we're still on this number two. I've got Scarface here. You know, De Palma's epic tale with Pacino, and it just, if you can get past the gore, you know, I recommend everybody, you know, who gets a chance should watch it. You know, kind of a, he has basically his rise in the criminal world from being somebody who, you know, just barely an immigrant into America, rising through the criminal ranks with his willingness to do things and getting involved in the drug cartel. Ultimately, he fell out with the cartel when he refused to pull off an assassination that would involve a child getting hurt, and then that basically spun everything around, and his empire started to fall. And worst movie, before we get to my number one, I've got here, the premise of the movie was so horrible even back then that I walked out going, I'm not even sure how this could possibly be a movie. DC Cab.
Oh yeah.
with Mr. T,
Mr. T,
and a whole bunch of people that I really could care less whether they were in another movie or not. And you're reading, even now when I read the synopsis, I'm going, wow, it is absolutely terrible. To be overly specific about how if these guys need to raise this money to save their cab company, and it was like the amount of money was like $6,063 exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, can you even buy a taxi cab for $6,000? I mean, how is that going to save your company? I'm sitting there, the premise of the film is so bad, the acting is so bad, you're totally disinterested in everything that's going on in it. Basically what they said was, wow, you know, we got Mr. T's willing to sign on for this movie. Let's come up with a script and let's just throw something together here and see if, you know, we can make some quick bucks. And
it was Gary Busey at that too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What's that? Yes, he was.
Busey.
Oh, terrible.
Awful.
Number one for me is The Big Chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture. You know, it was up against, you know, Terms of Endearment and Right Stuff and Tender Mercies, and I think Passage to India was the fifth movie. I'm not mistaken.
I think that was
off the top of my head anyway. Big Chill for me stands the test of time as the movie that I can watch over and over again. Yeah. The acting is so good. It's got such, you know, such an all-star cast. I love William Hurt in it. I love Jeff Goldblum in it. Kevin Kline, top notch there. I think Glenn Close was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for her role in it. Really, there's nobody bad in it that drags the movie down at all. You're just totally engaged all the time for a movie that's largely based on just dialogue. An engaging movie, which is really hard to do. Lawrence Kasdan is an exceptional writer, and then really Big Chill is, like, I think, his magnum opus as far as that goes anyway. So that's my number one.
Very good.
Good.
Couple surprises, which we'll talk about later, but overall, nice list. I like both you guys' lists. They both
very cool.
They both fit your personality and your style of preference in movies, which is cool. And that's what the whole aim of this exercise is. So that's cool. DC Cab is without a doubt an unwatchable movie. I finished it. I think I had to shut it the hell off. It was just, it was incomprehensible. What the hell?
I don't understand it. It was just terrible.
Regrettably, I think I saw that in the theater, man.
I did.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I saw it on cable. I said, no, fuck this. I'm not watching this shit. I should have known when Mr. T was, when they were trying to sell.
Mr. T is the star.
He's the star.
Off Rocky 3, he's the man, you know.
Clubber Lang is the star of your next movie,
right.
Man. That's not a good sign.
Gary Busey was hurting for work too. Him a bone. Here, Gary, here's a role for you. Yeah, the winner. All right, that was nice job. I'm going to jump in here. I have a definitely different opinion on a lot of these movies, but some.
Sure.
Here we go. Number 10 for me is A Christmas Story.
Yep.
Classic with Ralphie and the Red Ryder BB gun. I know it's overplayed on TBS, 24 hours Christmas time. And it started out as a sleeper film, which nobody really knew about it. It grew into this phenomenon over the years. Darren McGavin's great as the father. And remember the scene with the frozen, the tongue on the pole, and the kid in the suit with the bunny ears. There's just so many mashed potatoes. And there's just so many cool scenes in it. unrepeated views. I wanted to honor it, put it number 10 on my list. Number 9, I have Risky Business, the one that put Tom Cruise, made him a star, really, put him in the mainstream on the map as a box office draw. A teen sex comedy. You got Rebecca De Mornay as the sexy call girl, sort of the graduate of the 80s kind of entrepreneur, and it's talking about materialism, capitalism, and the loss of innocence. There's a lot of little themes in here. I love the sex scene on the train, very stylishly directed, really cool as they go through the city. I guess it's in Chicago, but I really enjoyed Risky Business.
Made me like In the Air Tonight all over again.
Exactly.
Really, yeah.
Rebecca De Mornay, although she's never been a favorite of mine, there's something about her in that role that works for me. My number 8 is a political thriller, Under Fire, starring Nick Nolte, Hackman, and Ed Harris. It's in Nicaragua. It's inspired by true events. Military takeover down there. The U.S. CIA is involved. There's a reporter that was shot on ABC, a real life reporter on ABC News, murdered, and a lot of that story is woven into this. Journalists covering these government overthrows in other countries where we're either sending arms or behind the scenes funding it, whatever. It was a headline in the news. I like the movie, and I like Nolte and Hackman. Ed Harris plays a creepy guy in the movie too. It's number 8. Number 7 is Scarface. Both you guys had it. Brian De Palma directed it. Oliver Stone wrote it, the script, about Tony Montana, the Cuban refugee who rise to power and started out really coming over on a boat, becomes a drug lord in Miami. There's piles of coke that are, massive, and that whole scene, and the chainsaw scene, hour, brutal, ultra violent stuff. Some of it's hard to watch. You got to turn away from the screen. Some of the violence, say hello to my little friend. He's got that automatic weapon, whacking people, like 100 people. It's overkill, but it's very entertaining. Pacino gives a tremendous performance. I like Michelle Pfeiffer as the girlfriend.
Excellent.
Well, Mary
Elizabeth Master Antonia, right?
She's a sister, I guess, and there's some kind of queer relationship there too. I don't know.
Stephen Bauer.
Really good cast. Stephen Bauer's in it. Great cast. F. Murray Abraham is in it as well.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So really good cast. That's my number 7. So that's a trifecta. You have one. Number 6 is a movie that kind of a sleeper film called Local Hero. This is a film where Peter Riegert plays this oil executive, and he's going over to Scotland. He's sent to Scotland by the oil company to buy their little village so they can pump oil and start a refinery or whatever. It's quirky, it's eccentric, beautiful scenery, beautiful little film. Burt Lancaster has a great supporting role here as this over the top boss. It's just a quaint little gem of a film. You have a real life mermaid that he discovers over there too, which adds a little charm to the film. I really like the film. Local Hero, directed by Bill Forsyth. Number 5 is The Big Chill. That is a hat trick as well, right? That's our
yeah, it is.
Yep.
So we have 2 there. This is a classic example of ensemble acting. You guys mentioned the great cast: William Hurt, Goldblum, Mary Kay Place, a nice little actress. She's in this as well. Glenn Close, Jo Beth Williams, Tom Berenger, Meg Tilly, Kevin Kline, of course, is the lead. All these guys are great in their roles. The Funeral, who it turns out was Kevin Costner, who was cut out of the final cut. He's the body there with the suicide marks on his veins that you see in the casket. You never see his face. It turns into a weekend reunion for these college friends from the University of Michigan. And, there's all kinds of secrets revealed and hostilities and romances and all this jealousies, all this stuff under the surface that it comes out. Great soundtrack. You guys mentioned that. Lawrence Kasdan, a great writer, director of that time. He did Body Heat, which we singled out in 81 as a great movie. And here's another one for him. Just a classic movie, I think, from the 80s, The Big Chill. Number 4 is another one of these little films, Testament. This is about nuclear war, should it strike in the United States. It's a normal day. everything's cool in a small town, and all of a sudden the father's not answering his phone. There's rumors of it. The power's gone. There's no reaching anybody, and the ultimate effect of the nuclear war starts hitting this family, and you see it from a mother's perspective as she loses one child after the other, and it's just heartbreaking, tough to watch, very, very realistic though. You don't need all the bombs and all the, explosions to have an impact on what's going to happen should we have a nuclear war. This is in a small setting, and it goes from the outside in, the fallout of it, and extremely well done. One of my favorite films, although I wouldn't recommend it to anybody because it's heart rendering to watch. You don't want to sit through that, but if you like realistic drama, that's the movie. Number 3 is Tender Mercies. Glad to see it on somebody's list. This is a perfect little film. Robert Duvall is an alcoholic country singer. He's broke. He's out of work. He's unhireable. Nobody. He's estranged from his family. All these things. He shows up at a gas station, a little town in Texas, and this woman takes him in, hires him to do some work, and they have a little love story. And he does odd jobs. He gets sober, tries to get his life together, and then there's more tragedy, which Brian alluded to, with his family that I don't want to give away. It's just a beautiful, life-affirming story about hitting rock bottom, getting a second chance, healing, and maybe getting an ultimate reward somewhere down the line. Number 2 is Silkwood, directed by Mike Nichols, starring Meryl Streep. The story of Karen Silkwood, who worked at a plutonium plant in Oklahoma, real life story, who was exposed to radiation. She went public. There's an aftermath of lawsuits, and the media is involved, and she takes it to DC, and they investigate her, and there's some accusations on her behavior. She's caught up in all this union trouble, and the contamination scenes are tough to watch here, very realistic. You got Kurt Russell as her boyfriend. Cher is involved as a friend of the family as well. She's very good in the movie, but ultimately it's Meryl Streep's film. Just an incredible performance coming off Sophie's Choice back-to-back years. I think it's one of Meryl's best, and I would recommend that movie to anybody that hasn't seen it. It doesn't get a lot of play these days, but in the 80s, it was a pretty big film. Worst movie, I know it was probably successful in the movie theaters, and it's probably not as bad as DC Cab or Jaws 3D, but the one I hated the most in '83, and that's Cujo. I absolutely detest this movie, taken from the Stephen King novel. To me, there's nothing entertaining or interesting about watching this slobbering dog, rabid dog going around threatening people, and Dee Wallace is in it from E.T., and she's the lead, and that's all you need to know about that film. But it's not a favorite. DC Cab's probably a better pick, but for me, it's Cujo. My number 1 is The Right Stuff. I think it was the best film of the year. The early days of the U.S. Space program, started with these test pilots and becoming astronauts, the Mercury program, all the trials and failures they show, how they started really from ground zero, and they couldn't get anything off the ground in the beginning. The objects to put a man in space, that was what Kennedy wanted. And by the end of the decade, the 60s, that's what we got. You got some wonderful performances in here from Sam Shepard and Ed Harris, and Fred Ward, Scott Glenn, and it tucks you into the personal lives with their wives as well. So it's a long film, make no mistake about it. So you need 3.5 hours to watch it. Dennis Quaid's very good in it as well. So I recommend that. Like Brian said, if you want to see a film once in your life, historical, it happened, and it's a pretty monumental achievement for us to get it to do what we did back in the 60s, go from absolutely an idea to putting a man on the moon in a matter of 10, 12
Huge.
years. Just amazing. So that's my number 1.
The Cujo pick, it's not, doesn't even follow the novel, because in the novel they die. I mean, there's no happy ending. And I didn't know this until the word Cujo is as a Spanish slang, means unstoppable force.
Oh, wow. Didn't know
Yeah,
that.
that's what the dog's name means. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Another year, I didn't have the best picture. I did not have Terms of Endearment.
Yeah.
Although I like the cast. I can't stand Shirley MacLaine's character in that movie. That overbearing, she just drives me insane. I love Deborah Winger. I love Nicholson, obviously. Jeff Daniels has a role in that as well. He's
Yeah,
good in
That's
it.
right.
And who am I forgetting?
Lithgow was in it.
Lithgow too.
And John Lithgow.
Yeah.
It's well cast. Shirley MacLaine's good in it. I just can't stand that character, man. When she's running around the hospital, come here, shot, come here, just nuts. It's like, shut up already, you know, with that. It's over the top acting for me. The one movie that I almost put on my list, but it's so brutal and so hard to watch, is Star 80, about Dorothy Stratton, the murder of the Playboy playmate. Just Mariel Hemingway is great in the movie, and Eric Roberts gives one of the all-time performances as the bad guy in that film. But I haven't seen it in a long time, and I didn't want to nudge out something else. But interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We were all over the place in '83. A lot of different picks, a lot of good movies, just based on overall preference. Like Doc said in the beginning, this is what he wants to watch. That's how he's making his list, and I think we all three feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's bang on, right? I mean, if I said I have A Christmas Story, Terms of Endearment, The Right Stuff, Star Chamber, and Star 80 on the side of my notes, which I do, and Tender Mercies, I have all those written down as.
Yeah.
Like some of those movies are probably better than, listen, is Tender Mercies better than Easy Money? Yeah, sure it is, man. But I want to watch Easy Money, man. If we're going to watch a comedy and stuff like that at 83, that's what I'm going to watch.
Right.
So
That's right.
that's
And
honest.
I didn't have Return of the Jedi. I don't think Brian had it either, did he?
No. It was just a closure for me on that one.
I thought he would, but I threw me a little curve.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah. Which we will get to.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, we will.
For those who
I,
were
I- actually, I said 5 or 6 for Doc and five for Rich. I think I made it, but we'll get to that.
we'll get to that.
We'll see.
So stay tuned for that. If you're interested in our little personal predictions, what we did was we put the other guys, the predictions of the other two individuals in an envelope. We're going to reveal them, but we're not going to tie up this video with that because not everybody wants to watch that. So anyway, we're going to sign off. We'll put another little video attached to it. If you want to check that out, be our guest. We're just going to have fun with it and see how it goes. So anyway, check out Brian's channel, Massey's Main Entertainment. Go watch the music video from 1983, perfect album. We made history today. I don't want to give anything away with our music picks, but we did a little something different with 1983 that we haven't done before, and we started.
We haven't done.
So it's 18 years that we've gone through, and something happened today that hadn't happened before. So check that out. That's a little tease as well. So I want to thank Brian and Doc for coming on. Please subscribe to our channels and leave the comments below. And until next time in '84, we'll see you. Take care, everybody. Bye.